All right, guys.
Oh,
Well, welcome back to the Society of Main Characters over here. We have
That was a
Keegan,
nice wall.
David, Grayson, and myself. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing tonight, Nick?
Ugh.
Doing all right. Keegan, how you doing?
Doing all right.
Good. Grayson?
Oh, we're just living dreams, getting ready to tear down with some Daredevil. So, hey, we're chomping at the bit.
That's right, Nick. What are we?
Speaking of speaking of tearing down with Daredevil, that's what I'm doing on my live stream OnlyFans later on. Anyway,
Oh, is that what they're calling it now?
that's what I'm calling it.
Oh, are you dressing up?
It's how it gets around copyright restrictions on OnlyFans.
Do you have like the suit?
No, I definitely don't legally.
Right. It's not. It's like the knockoff Halloween ones
It's
where
not
you can't
DD,
say it's Daredevil.
It's not DD. It's PP. Okay.
Oh man! So if anybody wants to see PP Man, tune into Nick's OnlyFans. Apparently, that's a whole different review, though. What are we looking at tonight?
Is that Daredevil's C tier villain or what?
It's definitely
PP
E tier. It's E
I
tier.
think.
Don't worry
Do
about
you
it.
remember? Do you remember the pothole that got fixed in episode 2?
That was the villain who made it.
It's right. It's right below that level. I don't know if it's even a level.
Oh, man.
At that point.
Wasn't
but,
trying
I
to
mean,
wasn't trying to take over the program here, Keegan. Just thought it'd be funny to chime in there.
I mean, you
What are we
got to
doing?
promote what you got to promote, Nick. We know the
Yeah, but it's
the financial times.
Hey man, you gotta make that money.
Look, it's a community project, Nick.
So Nick, what episode are we watching tonight? Or we're reviewing that we watched.
We already watched, but we are reviewing Daredevil episode 3.
Daredevil Born Again.
Yep, Daredevil Born Again episode 3. Last week we did episodes 1 and 2. Now we're doing episode 3.
So what did you guys think? How did it compare to the intro, the premiere of the 2 episodes?
Let's be honest. It was a slow build. It was definitely like I loved how Matt was kind of messing with the cop a little bit, but just the way that episode ended was, for lack of a better term, HFS or holy fucking shit. It was not what I expected. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but
it was a punch in the gut. It was like that last 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, it
dude,
was...
and then just having like the frogs going on in the background too. That was
I thought that was
wild.
That was such a great way to end it after the whole story that he told about it, and that was his dream to hear them again, kind of thing. And Matt's like, "You will." Nope.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you said slow build up. I don't think it was bad though. I actually really enjoyed seeing Matt in court. I mean,
personally, this might be my favorite one so far.
For sure, it was awesome seeing him in court. My worry was while I was watching it was that it was going to be like the Daredevil Born Again version of Joker Folie à Deux. It was just going to be a court drama episode, and I wasn't necessarily looking forward to that. Not that the writing of it was bad like Folie à Deux, but
I thought you were gonna say you're worried they were gonna start singing a random pop song that had nothing to do with what was happening.
If they would have, I would not be in this conversation right now. I would have been like, nope, I'm out.
That would have been Nick's breaking point.
Nick's just like, I have a stream to set up for, guys.
I have like 17. I have 17 Mike's Hard Lemonades from the time that Keegan and I got traumatized watching Joker Folie à Deux in theaters.
God. I mean, after that, it might have been a good movie. After that,
I don't know if there's enough liquor in the world to make that movie a good movie.
I mean, there is enough because there's got to be enough that will knock you out, like just put you to bed for the night. That'd make that movie passable for me.
And if you want to hear more about that, there's an old review on Keegan's page over on Cool's Paranormal Studios, where they talk and sing all about Joker.
Yep. But no, I mean, like you said, the last few minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, I would say, wow, holy fucking shit.
Now let's get the elephant in the room addressed here. It's definitely not the Punisher, right?
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like there's no way, especially after we saw the tattoo on the one guy.
I mean, there's a possibility because there's always a possibility, but I'm not buying.
I gotta say,
not betting
it's
on
like
it.
it's like less than 5% in my opinion.
There is a storyline? We talked about this already. There is a storyline where Punisher and Black Cat, I think, were both competing to be Fisk's guard at one point in the comics.
Electra.
Electra. That's right.
Right.
Electra. But with that, after we had that discussion, because I watched this episode right after we had that discussion, I thought just maybe there might be a sliver of them using that storyline for this.
Well, it also wasn't the Punisher; it was Bullseye.
It was definitely,
it was Bullseye and Electra, not Punisher and Black Cat.
That's right. That's cool. I don't know anything about comics. Hi guys.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it's 100% not him, but I'm like 99.9% sure it's gonna be like one of the dirty cops kind of thing. I think that they've taken the Punisher symbol to represent whatever they're doing, kind of thing. I'm sure the next episode will go into it more, and I think when the Punisher finds out what's going on, he's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, there's one I think this just does not fit during the court drama that I think it's going to be. Like, they made a pretty good point of framing.
Okay.
Well, there's Keegan.
Yeah, I think
Keegan,
real quick, what I do want to see on that was
power issues again, maybe.
Yeah, they did show off like one or two specific people like in that crowd, so I could see it being a throwback to one of them.
And Keegan's
plus it doesn't even fit his MO. Like, with how they established the Punisher and it being the same character from the Netflix series, this just doesn't fit the character in that way. Because White Tiger did nothing to really get on the Punisher's watch list. So
no, he does things to bad guys. And the Punisher, even if he thought that he was guilty and killed the cop, he would have found proof to know before he dealt out that justice, I think.
Punisher would have been up with the court drama as well. He would have been watching Matt do business, I would imagine, too. Because
he knows Matt is Daredevil.
Yeah.
So if he thought that, like, there's no way he would think that Matt would defend him if the dude was guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, hell, Matt got him out of court stuff.
Keegan, you didn't finish your thought before you froze.
Where did I freeze at?
You froze at there was a guy in the.
Oh, because you guys were fine. Like, no one froze over there. No, there was one cop for certain that they focused on, and
the guy that whispered in his ear or whatever.
I don't know if he whispered, but he just like looked on kind of menacingly during the not guilty stuff, and I was like, okay, he's gonna do something. I thought he was gonna do something in the courtroom.
I did too, actually.
So I think it's gonna be him.
Are you talking neck tattoo cop?
Maybe
it's like not a big deal.
Skinny.
Obviously.
He was a skinny guy.
So here's my question: do you guys think Matt was justified and okay in revealing that he was the White Tiger?
Absolutely not. He was full from the hip, firing off to see what could stick.
It was his last resort.
100%.
But do you think
he should not have done that?
Do you think they would have won the court case if he wouldn't have done that?
No,
absolutely not. Which I understand. So let me be honest. I understand why he did it, but I do not agree with why he did it or how he did it, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was a very clever way to muddy the waters even more about the whole masked vigilante thing that Fisk is going on about. Obviously, Fisk was very upset that he got innocent, and I would almost believe that whoever it is that did kill him may have been there on Fisk's orders and have nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like, have it be together as opposed to just a dirty cop on their own.
That's what I kind of got from how the episode ended too. I was just waiting to see like the reveal of like some sort of like Fisk tie-in right before the episode cut off, and when it faded to black, not even a post-credit, nothing. I'm like, all right, we got to see what happens in episode 4. But it did feel heavily implied, like when it showed Fisk just talking about how upset, or not really talking about, but just like showing how upset he's getting over the fact that he got an innocent verdict. It was definitely heavily inferred that he ordered the hit.
Yeah,
at least that's what I took away.
Either like the only reason I think it may not be is it seemed to go very quickly from when he was talking about we have to deal with this, and then it happened. So I don't know, like, it kind of seemed like whatever Fisk was going to do might take a little longer to do something, but who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But you're just gonna find out.
I'm going to be very like, I'm surprised that Fisk has not revealed to like the public that Matt is Daredevil.
Well,
I think he's waiting for the right time to pop drop that information.
Well, not only that,
Yeah,
but
just,
I don't think a lot of
gonna
people would believe him because the dude's blind.
Well, I was just gonna say too. Like, I don't think I don't think Fisk is the kind of person to just carelessly throw that out there. He's waiting for his right moment. He's waiting for a particular moment.
It's going to be calculated when it's going to advantage him the most.
Yep, it's going to be. If anything, it's going to be a moment where the public eye is going to be questioning whether or not they need Daredevil back or not. I have a feeling that's what is going to happen.
Yeah, because we know this is going to be the catalyst for Matt becoming Daredevil again, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he was already thinking about it when he gave that whole speech, the White Tiger did, about why he does it. And, taking care of it, because Matt was like, just don't do it anymore. And he was saying why he had to keep doing it. And I do think Matt kind of got affected by that. And I think he's already kind of stewing it over in his head. And after this, I think he's going to feel guilty, because he kind of caused this to happen. And then two, I think to get rid of some of that guilt, he's going to feel like he's got to step back in to take over since White Tiger's not doing it.
And then on top of that, too, I think with what happened at the end of this episode with him not realizing that the corrupt cops are, or at least whoever is taking on the Punisher Sona at this point, now that he's gone, and if it ends up being like this whole corruption plot and seeing just how deep like this, rot possibly goes, I think these next couple episodes we'll see Matt kind of finally be like, you know what? I can't deny who I am. I have to step into being the Daredevil again.
Right, and that he's got to do it because he can't trust the cops to do justice anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I think once the Punisher steps back in because somebody is using his likeness to exercise an injustice against those that have done nothing wrong, that'll then be what Fisk uses to be like, Punisher's a vigilante too. Look what he's doing. Is that okay? And then that'll end up being what tips the scales back in Fisk's favor.
Because definitely Punisher's going to go too far in trying to solve this problem. Or at least too far.
Wait. No. Wait, no.
Why talk about it when you can solve the problem with a grenade launcher? You know what I mean? Like, gets it cleaned up right away.
See, and I like they've set up.
There's less of a mess if you make a guy explode. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like they've set up a really interesting dynamic with the fact that like the bad guys are the good guys, with it being like corrupt cops. Like that's supposed to be who you can go to that should be taking care of this kind of thing. And now if they are the bad guys, like who else can do it?
I want to say that was also a theme in the Netflix show as well.
Yeah, they've been building it up really well. I think they've done a good continuation. I think they've done it in a more realistic way than, for example, Nolan's Batman movies, where Gotham was very corrupt. I feel like that was just kind of a blanket, like everybody's corrupt. You know what I mean? Like almost to an unrealistic.
You're corrupt.
level.
I'm corrupt.
Right. Like it was like you throw a rock and you hit a corrupt person. I feel like this one, it feels a little more grounded in police. Like it kind of mirrors some stuff that kind of some modern day things as well. You know what I mean? So I definitely see it as a little more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you guys think of like the drama between the fighting gangs? Because we saw, I mean, that's how the episode opened up, was with a double murder at a drop off. Like, what do you think is going to happen there? Because I think that's going to drive a wedge with Fisk and them even more than it.
Well, I think it's just going to add more fuel to the fire because it's going to be basically putting pressure on him to either step in to control the gangs and show even more of who he truly is, or it's going to be a divisive point between him and Vanessa because Vanessa's in the life now. She controls the gangs. She wants to launder money through the paintings. She wants to do.
She doesn't want to lose the power.
The episode opens with, she wants to hang on to that because now she's had it. So either A, this is going to be a division between him and Vanessa, or it's going to be him having to basically be the corrupt politician that we all know he's going to end up being by the end of the series. Where he has both, gang power and police power, and then the city's just basically stuck between a rock and a hard place with either taking vigilantes or having to deal with a corrupt power system.
Because at the end of the day, he's still the kingpin.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
in his
and this
mind.
is
That's
what
what he's
he
built
was kind
himself
of
up.
wanting too. It sounded like where he wanted more and more chaos, because then it kind of helps his plight of get rid of the vigilantes. Which, if it's getting so bad, the question is, where's Spider-Man? Like, right? Like,
I
That's
don't
what I
think-
want to know. I want pictures of
We're
Spider-Man.
not there yet.
I don't think a lot of what's happening though is necessarily places where Spider-Man would step in.
Spider-Man's the hero of New York. Okay.
I mean, he's kind of around a different area of New York, first off, and secondly, I like the gang situation and stuff. When they like, he'd have no reason to be there. He's not saving any innocents.
But
There's
what about
no-
now
To
that
take a
White
Marvel
Tiger,
quote, this
a
isn't a
fellow-
Spider-Man level threat yet.
What did you say, Keegan?
I was just gonna say, what about when a fellow vigilante like White Tiger were to get killed? Because
He
this
had
is gonna
no-
escalate.
But he had no idea that was going to happen.
no,
like,
but
that was
now
a
that
very-
it has happened,
It'd be different if like White Tiger was kidnapped or you know what I mean. Like then there's a chance for somebody to get in there, but this literally came out of nowhere.
Ba-ba-na-na-ba-na.
I'm also curious. I mean,
That's-
obviously everything's been wrapped up due to the spell or whatever, but the entire court case and everything that was happening with Spider-Man and Peter Parker would have definitely fed into this whole same situation.
Absolutely.
Because he was like one
That
of the
was-
number one big, masked people, and they thought he literally murdered a hero right there on camera.
Again, we mentioned this last week, but all they could have done to make the movie not happen is get rid of everyone's memory of Mysterio.
But I mean, even to that point too, even if Daredevil wanted
Movie's
to call
got
on
a
Spider-Man
movie.
for help, he knew who Peter Parker was. He forgot that anyway too, so he wouldn't even really know who to go to for contact on Spider-Man.
No, he
I think-
forgot that Peter Parker is
Just a
Spider-Man.
side thought.
He doesn't necessarily forget that Spider-Man exists.
I also think it's funny that Spider-Man,
Well, that's what I'm saying. And
like Peter does not know that Matt was Daredevil.
No.
Like as far as we know, like
it's true.
we saw some, he was like, "Wow, I can't believe you caught," like the reflex thing. But there was
a
never
really good
any sign that he thought he was anything but just a kind of weird lawyer. So I think that's
know
interesting.
last week too, we kind of brought up like timing, and I saw an article today where they said it was 7 years after the original series ended.
Which
It was
makes
a
sense
7 year
because that was the
gap.
time that like we'd said that the blip happened and they're
Mhm.
back, and yeah,
So
that
at
would
least
mean
now
the
we
first
know.
episode was 6 years later.
Yeah.
So it had only been a year after them being back, and I assume in that year a lot of that was probably given over to Spider-Man's defense. So we're probably seeing them not too far after everything that happened with Peter happened, and then they forgot it, and then Foggy dies.
Or does he? Honestly, when the one guy was like, "I work for the man," obviously we know it was Vanessa, but I was like, either it's going to be Kingpin or maybe it's Foggy. Like, I don't know. I definitely think Foggy's going to be alive at some point. We're going to figure out that was just a ploy to weaken Matt.
If we find
didn't
that out, I don't
Feige-
think it's going to be till the very end of the season.
Yeah,
I was gonna
like
say, didn't
kinda
Like,
Feige say
like
that they're
maybe
both
even in credit scene
in
kind of
season
thing.
2?
What'd you say?
I said, didn't Feige come out and say that they're both in season 2?
Yeah, but that could still be flashbacks and things like that.
True.
Because I mean, technically, he's in season 1, and you saw how long that lasted.
Again, that was the first spoiler I saw online. I had already seen the
So,
episode, but it was so
From what
funny.
I understand, originally this was supposed to be like close to like 20 episodes long for this first season. And when they changed everything and brought Foggy and Karen back and all that, that's when they decided to split it. And season 1 added on there a little bit and then kind of did what they were going to do. But season 2 got completely rewritten. So the second half of the story is completely different than what it was going to be from what I've heard. And that's why it's 2 seasons now instead of that just the 1.
yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. Again, they weren't going to have Foggy in them at all.
Yeah.
So we'll see how much they actually do incorporate going forward. Do you think we'll see any other kind of low, maybe C, D tier type of vigilantes pop up throughout the series like we have?
Probably not vigilantes low like we've seen, because I mean we've already got White Tiger and Punisher's coming in, but I have heard a rumor that before the end of the season you will see an MCU character.
Oh, Spider-Man.
It could. I mean, what would be more hype than Spider-Man showing up at the end of the season?
I mean, it would
If
pay
that
off because
happens.
Fisk
And
was
he-
talking about
and he
Spider-Man in
goes,
episode 1.
He shows up and he goes, "Hey, do you know this guy?" And it's Foggy.
Mind blown already. Mind blown.
Talk about wish fulfillment, am I right?
But it's Jon Favreau's Foggy.
I don't even
No, it's John
like,
Favreau. It's John Favreau as Spider-Man.
Yeah. Everybody, they just the last scene they've gone into a multiverse where everybody's Jon Favreau,
I would love that. Actually.
except Matt, but he doesn't know it because he's blind. So he just thinks there's
He's
something
just
wrong
Ben Affleck.
with his senses because he thinks everybody looks the same.
It's a
Well, see, like it's everybody else is John
multiverse
Favreau, and then Daredevil's Ben Affleck.
Oh my god!
But voiced not by Ben Affleck.
Like, how funny would it be if
Voiced
just
by
in
John Favreau.
just like one random scene, just Matt walks by a mirror, like it just on the side, you just see it's Ben Affleck as he goes by, and that's it. They never mention it, they never address it, but just that one.
It's in like the middle of the season 2. It's like episode 5, and it's just one scene, and then it's never addressed again.
Or just like a reflection in a puddle as he's like running down a street in one episode, and then it's never addressed, never brought up. It doesn't mean anything. They just do it.
Just make, or just do like that, the mirror gag where they're both walking the same direction. They kind of just have like the headshot, and then you see Ben Affleck, just another blind dude with just the same glasses on from the movie. That would
actually be. Or if Matt decides he's like, you know what, I need to do Daredevil full time, and he's like going to quit the law firm for a while. They're like, don't worry, we found somebody to take your place, and it's Ben Affleck. He's just a random lawyer.
Who's also
Marvel,
old.
take these ideas down. Okay.
I do think it's really funny that they just like callously wrote him off in Deadpool and Wolverine. When
I know, right?
when he's because Deadpool was asking Elektra like, "Where's Daredevil?" And she's like, "Oh, he's dead." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she's like, "Eh." It was like,
I mean,
damn.
looking back on both the Daredevil and Elektra movie, I don't think either of them have really aged well.
The movies weren't very
Well, I think
good.
Jennifer Garner's just
so.
still super pissed about that divorce.
Yeah, I think that it's more the divorce as to why they didn't work together in that one.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But yeah, I just think it's really funny that was their way of being like, nobody gives a fuck about Ben Affleck's character. Like, I think they're bringing back a ton of people for like Secret Wars and everything. I very much don't think Ben Affleck is going to be in it.
How many people do you think's too much budget-wise for that movie?
I don't think there's a budget.
I would say right now it's getting close to that.
Yeah, because at some point they're gonna have to make the money back.
There's no budget because everybody's gonna go see this movie. Unless the only way it bombs is if Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four are both the worst movies we've ever seen.
I mean, with Fantastic Four, there's not a good track record there, so.
I liked the original, or not, I guess not the very original, but the one that Chris Evans and such.
2000 ones, yeah.
I thought that was fine with Jessica Alba and everything. That was a decent movie. I think they did the thing really well. Yeah, Michael Chiklis or whatever, he was a great Thing with the voice. Like, that's what I think of when I hear the voice of the Thing.
Wasn't that Stan Lee's favorite interpretation of any character? Was his?
Idea. I'm gargling rocks.
Yeah, like it just sounded like that. Like, oh, I'm a tough New Yorker. Like, okay. Granted, I love the guy that's playing him. Like the guy that's doing the new one, the guy from The Bear. I love him in that. So I'm excited to see this like new interpretation. I'm fine with it. But just when my mind thinks the Thing, that's just kind of what it naturally goes to because it fit the build so much. They did a real suit instead of it just being like 100% CGI. It looks like the same thing here. It looks like it's not going to be all CGI dependent. So that's really good. I like the practical. But I thought that was a great movie. It wasn't until Silver Surfer that it started to get stupid.
Yeah, Silver Surfer was probably the worst of that series.
Yeah,
so
they tried to go too much too fast.
Look, Galactus is a cloud.
Dumb.
Hey, we'll get Galactus
Nick,
again.
don't you have an OnlyFans stream to start? Or?
Yeah, he was just trying to show us the thing.
You know, I do, but I don't.
But
I use Keegan my time, so
Nick's viewers are loyal. They'll wait for him.
yeah, all 2 of them.
they paid their money.
It's building. Yeah, exactly. It's building anticipation. They're like, I subbed this month. I'm getting the show.
I'm your little pay pig. Anyway, what else do we need to talk about in this episode besides the trial?
That's why Nolan's not here, right? He's in the
He's in my OnlyFans lobby waiting for me to start.
Refresh. Where is he?
He's just like, I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm greased up and waiting.
So who do you think Fisk has been boxing or beating up to have all those scars on his fist?
I think that's just in general stuff from his
Just
past.
low-level
Things
thugs.
Yeah.
Every person with anger issues, greatest villain, drywall. You know. But I do want to say I did kind of like Matt kind of punking the police officer on the stand, being like, you know how you avoid a black eye? Have faster hands. Pretty great.
Yeah. What's he gonna say? A blind man beat me up? Like, come on.
I did like that a lot. That he was basically taunting him in there, and he can't say anything about it. Because then it's like, well, where? What was going on? What? Oh, the blind guy beat you up? Okay. I can't believe that guy, though, that they got the witness just decided on stand, like, nope, never mind. Nothing happened. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's some punk-ass behavior, especially after the dude literally saved his life.
Quite literally, yeah. And even then, like, all the trouble they went through to swap out, that's such shit.
Yeah. That was pretty low. But I guess with criminals, I guess there's only so much you can expect.
That is true with criminals.
Yeah, because it's not like the cops aren't going to just get rid of him now anyway. I mean, they can still just be like, hey, he might talk, get rid of him.
Yeah.
At least if he was like, hey, these cops have been using me, they did beat me up, White Tiger helped save me.
So, question, if we don't see Matt suit up in this next episode, how many more episodes do you think?
I think we see him next episode.
If it's not next episode, it would be the one right after.
Yeah, it's going to be close. Like, he was even looking at the horn in this episode, almost in like a church. Like, I mean, he was in the courtroom, but it felt like when you go to church and you're just like thinking of what to do.
Somebody pointed out something.
See, I don't think it's gonna
was really good. There was a parallel that him sitting there, like in, like you said, the courtroom and everything. It very much mimicked the scenes that were in the older series when he would do that in the church before he would go into the confessional and stuff before the father died and all. Like, I think that's kind of his new place to like mull things over.
I can see that.
Yeah, they definitely set that up when he was in there by himself, just in the courtroom, soaking up like the, I guess the ambiance is the word I'm looking for.
The sun rays and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that super church-like setting in not a church. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be this next episode, but I think this is going to be the, crescendo to the second act, causing him to have to put on the actual costume in the next episode. Because I feel like this is going to be a lot of fallout. I feel like we're going to get an introduction of Punisher in this next episode. I feel like there's going to be a lot of build-up that's going to bring us into Act 2, and then try to bring it home in the next couple episodes.
That's what I was going to ask, too. Like,
I could see the end of this episode being him, like, in the suit and go to credits, or him like pulling it out and opening the case, like looking at, like, he's about to put it on, and then next time, you know what I mean? I could say that
next time on Dragon Ball Z,
big gigantic, like either Game War or some sort of like something to be like, I gotta suit up. There's no longer, I gotta do this. Hell's Kitchen needs me.
Yeah, I could also see. I could see before the suit, though. I could also see maybe something happening in this episode where again he has to kind of use his abilities. Like maybe with the Punisher or something, they go out to do something that he gets, that he goes back to kind of like the street kind of look, just like covering his face type thing and like getting something done and then going full-fledged in the next episode.
Agreed. Yeah, I think they're going to start, this definitely is giving like the airs because after, White Tiger's dead, they're definitely going to be doing some, back alley door knocking just to make sure that they can see if they can find something out to see who took out White Tiger for sure.
Yeah, and we didn't really mention it, but I liked the kind of bit of the new girlfriend asking him about Foggy.
Yeah, I like that too. That's what I gotta say. I do like that about some of the MCU series that they've had so far. Is that like those heroes having those very human,
a little more to
moments.
have like the actual just this is your life, not just 100% whatever story's happening.
Yeah, like my other favorite one is from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Bucky straight up tells Sam, he's like, "You giving up that shield made me feel like I wasn't good enough." There's been some really good human moments here in the MCU series.
Yeah, and even though and I've said in our review of Brave New World, I'm not the hugest Falcon / Anthony Mackie fan, but I liked in Falcon and Winter Soldier how it gave us time to know a little more about his family and like his sister with their restaurant and then the boat and how they're having financial issues. Like, yeah, I might be a superhero, but that doesn't pay shit. They still have to have a day job kind of thing. And, telling us that, I guess Tony was kind of paying for people until he passed, and very interesting.
Yep.
I mean, on that note, too, I kind of wish that they would have done a Brave New World with Winter Soldier being, part of the buddy cop thing. I know he's going to be in the Thunderbolts. I know that's why they didn't want him in there, but I think it was a gigantic travesty to the movie.
I think it's also because if Winter Soldier is there, I think Bucky very much overshadows and outshines Falcon.
I can definitely agree with that.
Because the whole time you'd also be like, why isn't the guy with super strength Captain America? Why isn't the super soldier? Because even in the comics, Bucky was Captain America for a very long time.
Sure, yeah. I think even with this movie, with him going up against the Red Hulk, kind of the argument's still there where you're like, he even made it himself in the movie where he's like, why am I doing this?
He's like, man, I should have taken that serum. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, dude, it's anyway.
So if you want to hear more thoughts from these people on Brave New World, we have a whole other video. We'll link it right here in this one.
But yeah, there is some other MCU stuff I think we should talk about real quick. But first, we can finish up Daredevil. What did everybody think? What would you rate the episode? I'm gonna say 9 out of 10. I thought it was great.
I'm gonna go 8. 8 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a solid overall. I think probably 8.5, 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 8.5. Just because, like I said, I think it's my favorite one so far. As far
I
as
like that they're kind of building.
Yeah.
That gives me hope for where it's going.
Very different than another series we recently covered where it started to go downhill. This one at least feels like it's building and we'll have a good payoff. But yeah, I think 8.5 out of 10.
Monster reveal. It's gonna be brutal.
It turns out they're all actually plants.
Oh my god.
The whole time we thought they were aliens.
They're plants.
Wilson Fisk is controlled by an alien plant black goo monster.
Okay, so we will be excited to see the next episode that I definitely think the Punisher is going to get involved with, and I think it's definitely going there. So yeah, tune in for that next week. But until then, 2 things with the MCU. First thing, I'm sure we've all heard about it, of Sadie Sink being cast in the new Spider-Man movie. You guys have any thoughts or guesses on what she may be doing?
I try not to because I don't want to spoil it for myself.
Tony Stark.
Yep.
You think she's going to be playing Tony Stark? Is that your guess?
No. I'd say either MJ or Jean Grey. Like a different...
I don't think she's going to be MJ.
I don't know.
Because we already had our MJ for the series.
Yeah, but comic book fans, they don't. They like to
now
complain
multiverse, and they made a point of saying that her name was Michelle and not Mary Jane. I could see them doing an actual MJ now.
Yeah, and Zendaya's role is supposed to be very small, so.
Well, there's a way I could see this going because she's young enough, and I think she could probably be a Gwen Stacy for if they decide to, because I think that's where they might end up going, unless Kevin Feige does decide to retcon the whole MJ thing that they were building up the last 3 movies. But
Sydney
I do think
Sweeney, Black Cat. That's all I care about.
I think that's going to happen.
All you should care about.
But we also have to remember that this is happening, probably rumor-wise, in like a Battle World type scenario, where it's going to be in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I could absolutely see it being Jean Grey, like Keegan said, because there was already rumors a while back that she was being looked at to be Jean Grey. So if they chose to introduce her here, I think that'd be really interesting, and tying, because Spider-Man's always been a pretty big fan or friend with the X-Men. Yeah. And has various adventures with them and all. So I could see that. But I read something today that I thought was very interesting. Considering the time that it's happening during it all and the whole multiverse thing, somebody suggested that she very well could be Peter's daughter, but it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man with Kirsten Dunst, that they had a kid, and it's Mayday that also has like the powers later on or whatever, that it's her in Tom Holland's like multiverse due to everything that got mixed up. And she's like, or came to find him to help her dad or something like that, in terms of like, and I was like, that would be very interesting, I think.
I agree.
So after Doomsday, are they doing more like multiversal style movies where like the universes start crashing into themselves?
Yes. So supposedly Doomsday is going to end with everything becoming Battle World, where it's everything in one. And then Secret Wars will be the fallout of all that and trying to fix it all and get things back to having a regular universe.
That makes more sense. Gotcha. Okay.
So if that's what they're doing, because that was like the whole crux of the newer Secret Wars, and they said they're taking inspiration from the old one and the new one, that's what most likely looks like it's happening.
Well, then I withdraw my comment.
And if that's happening, I mean, basically it's going to reboot everything.
Yeah.
Like the Russo brothers came out, I think this last week, and said that when they did Endgame, it was like the ending of an era, the ending of something, and that they're approaching Secret Wars as the birth of something new.
Mm-hmm.
That this is a new beginning. So I could absolutely see Sadie coming in as the new actual MJ. Do you know what I mean? Like doing an actual Mary Jane Watson.
Yeah, comic accurate. Because that seems also what they're going for this phase is let's try to make it as comic accurate as possible. So it makes sense.
So, I mean, and they've like, and of course people have already interviewed her and asked her, and she's not giving away anything.
Well, no, because she's good at her job.
Exactly.
That's Tom Holland.
She's been keeping secrets on these kind of things since she was cast in like Stranger Things. Because the Stranger
Don't
Things.
worry, we just had to have somebody ask Tom in a couple months, be like, so how do you feel about Sadie coming in to be the actual MJ instead of your fiance Zendaya? And he'll be like, oh well, I think it'll be good for the story. And oh no.
Yeah, it's either him or Mark Ruffalo. We just got to ask one of the two, and we'll find it out.
And then something else.
Everybody dies.
And then there's a couple of rumors that I've heard as far as Fantastic Four. Somebody said that potentially, because apparently they did a test screening already, and everybody loved it, is what they've said. Again, that could be totally false, but so far we're hearing good things, because we did hear bad things about Brave New World test screenings and stuff where they had to redo a lot. And I think we did see the product of that. It was, so that makes me feel positive about it. But somebody also said that potentially the end of that is very similar to Captain America. You know how he kind of wakes up and he's like in present day, that they come through to this multiverse, from there, and that Spider-Man's going to be the one to like encounter them when they get there and like kind of greet them and be a part of like bringing them into this world. They're like, oh, hot, you know what I mean? Which would fit with the comic stuff, because they were the first ones to like be together. I want to say the first, like one of the first Spider-Man issues or two, I think he had Fantastic Four like with him on the cover even.
100%.
Yeah.
If they do that, the inner nerd in me will just be able to die happy. That'll be sick, dude.
Just seeing them all on screen together is already just
100%. Yeah. All I gotta say is that if any of these rumors are true, I feel like Marvel's kind of back and fighting for him. Took a couple hits on the chin, but I think they might
Daredevil
be back on track.
Daredevil's made me feel a lot better about things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That it feels like it's going in the right direction. Because right now I can kind of write off like Brave New World between the other issues it had and then all the strikes. I get where maybe it was just a bad time that they just said, you know what, we just need to put this together and push it out there.
Yeah,
so
5 reshoots.
right. So I'm gonna Daredevil's getting me feeling better about things. I think Thunderbolt's really gonna to bring it home one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me personally, of how I'm feeling.
I mean, I know I started off on the fence about it, but the more that I see like the trailers kind of coming out and they're like building up with like some of the other products and like the actual trailers themselves,
I'm getting excited.
Like they're getting better. Yeah, like it's building up to like something I feel like is going to be pretty good.
And the other rumor that I wanted to address that I heard is that when they do come over or whatever, that Doom is going to see like murals and stuff of Tony Stark.
And like take his persona, yeah.
And make them all think that he is Tony, like come back.
I can see that. That could be that would actually work.
And that goes along with the Russos that have been saying like literally nobody else could do the role except Robert Downey Jr. for what we're doing. Now that could just be they just think he's such a great actor, you know, whatever. But if it's specifically playing off of looking like Tony Stark, just to kind of weasel his way in or whatever ends up happening, I think because I don't feel like you can do it and just ignore that that it's the same actor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're casting him, you know, RDJ bringing him back since he was in there from the beginning, you have
like there's got to be a story reason. Yeah, there's got to be. You can't just say like, oh yeah, well we just really liked him, so we're just gonna make it work. Like there
especially
had to
with
be,
like Tom Holland, like you got to make that some sort of storyline there.
And especially think about it, if Spider-Man is there first to like get in with the Fantastic Four, and then his old mentor comes back, like who would be better to help him, you know, do something to read or whatever, like because he trusts Tony.
Yeah,
I mean to that point too. I was just gonna say I think that since he looks like Iron Man, he has the ability to access not only Tony's research, but he has an in with all the actual Avengers. So he can study everything, try to get as much information about this universe as possible, then try to become God Emperor Doom by Secret Wars. So I think they're building up to that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that'd be a great way to have the heroes not stop him before it's too late. Like once they realize it's not Tony, too bad.
Yep.
Like he duped him long enough to get away with it. And
Dr. Doom assembles the anti-Avengers or whatever he's going to be building.
Yeah,
that's how it leads in from Doomsday to Secret Wars.
Well, my biggest question is going to be like throughout all of that is obviously they're going to have to win at the end of Secret Wars or whatnot, but it makes me wonder if they're going to bring in like a new Doctor Doom from this universe to be like a bad guy moving forward because you got to have Doctor Doom in some capacity. I feel like down the line.
Yeah,
well, what other villains have they not had in the MCU yet though?
Oh, there's thousands, but only some of them I think are iconic enough to, you know, carry.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, there's thousands of villains, yes, but I'm talking about the big name villains.
I mean, I
actually pose
personally,
threats.
Well, depending on how things end in Fantastic Four with Galactus, I could see Galactus being a potential threat to everybody.
1,000,000%.
If it's got to be all the heroes trying to bring him down, because that was a massive storyline.
That too. I think if they can, depending on how the next couple of years go, if they can kind of reverse, you know, direction with Kang, I think they can bring Kang back. I think there is a way to, you know, give that an Avengers level threat while correcting the story, especially after the whole reset. So I think there's still an opportunity for him to at least be reintroduced. It's just going to have to be somebody other than Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, I think they could also, if they really wanted to, give it a little more time. They could probably do Secret Invasion as an entire, like the way it should have been done. Like Absolutely. I know we had the series and stuff, but we could still bring that around and say that, you know, the one that was Rhodey or whatever. Like I think there's a way that the Kree can still be like, or not Kree. What were they?
Skrull.
I still think the Skrull can be definitely a like phase long credible threat. of replacing people and things like that. And we can even say that, you know, Nick has like an upper hand on it because he already kind of went through a smaller version of it or something like that.
I 100% agree. I think depending on how Secret Wars actually does, because with how like esoteric, I guess is what I'm kind of looking for the word, but with how much of a deep pull that's going to be from comic lore, if that does well, I think they could definitely pull off a Secret Invasion like movie, like phase long arc.
Like sure. You would just see like in credit scenes revealing certain people have been Skrulls or, you know, things like that would just keep building up until they dealt with in like a 2-part Secret Invasion. But Nick, the biggest answer to your question, I think after Secret Wars and everything happens, I think the next big bads we go into are going to be directly related to X-Men.
Yeah, like Doctor Doom.
Because not Doctor Doom. I think more like we're going to have Magneto.
Or probably. Not Magneto, yeah.
But he's going to be like an X-Men level villain, probably not like everybody. But I could definitely see them doing their own version of like Apocalypse.
Yeah. Especially with them bringing back, what's his face?
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
And they said he's going to have a new look, so it's not going to be directly the Fox one that we've seen already.
That's fine.
Probably more comic accurate. So.
Dude, if they make it an X-Men 97 just homage, I'd be down for that.
What I think needs to happen, like we have the mutant phase and everything, I think obviously the best end cap to that would be AVX, Avengers versus X-Men.
Well, I think that's where they're trying to go with the next phase.
I feel like you have to. I feel like that has to be the Secret Wars of the next sets are going to be bringing in mutants. Everything's fine. Nobody really trusts the, you know, like, because that's a huge part of the comic world is all the mutants. Like, it's a massive roster of characters. It's huge in the politics. It's huge in everything. It's so I think that'll be a next 10 years right there is dealing with mutants.
So I have a question for you there, David, going off of that. I'm going to ask this question and I'm going to go make myself some tea.
So you're going to ask the question and then not wait for the answer?
No, I'm gonna have my headset on, so I'm gonna hear your answer. I'm just not gonna be on camera. I'm not gonna be But my question to you, if they bring the mutants back in, would you want another attempt at the Dark Phoenix storyline, or do you think that should just be left alone?
Eventually. That's a good question. I think they do. I think we could do it, and I think it could be really well done with everybody because I think the Phoenix Force plays such a strong part moving forward because there's a huge storyline about the Phoenix Force where it goes into like several people. Star-Lord has it at one point. It builds it, like it brings everybody into it because it's such a powerful thing. But I don't think we do it anytime soon. I think we do other X-Men stories first. Plenty of Magneto stuff, plenty of even maybe X-Men versus Avengers, or it could even be what kicks off X-Men versus Avengers. Maybe they've seen that it's so dangerous that maybe these mutants aren't good to have around because of something like that.
The Phoenix Force is now what becomes the subject of the Sokovia Accords kind of thing.
Maybe. Well, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that because they're going to want to do. People are going to be against mutants and some people for the. It's just people. Other people that are not humans. All of that I think is going to get brought in big time. Yeah.
The way I could, what I was going to say was just the way I could see it going is like if they do the whole reset, bring the X-Men in, and do all of that. I could see if they have the Sokovia Accords like being like fully enforced in this new world where they come into. If the Avengers have to be a part of the government enforcement, and let's just say Trask is actually there and he builds his Sentinels, and they send them after the actual X-Men, that could be a good point of conflict to where they have to be used as puppets of the government to go against the X-Men to actually rein them in because their powers are uncontrolled.
Yeah, and
since they're teenagers.
And bringing up the Sokovia Accords, I definitely think Daredevil is kind of setting up Fisk to introduce new legislation about Superhero Registration Act, like we had previously in comics for Civil War.
In the original Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, because now that we're actually getting masked heroes, because now Spider-Man is technically secret again.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows who he is, so that'll be a major one. Daredevil obviously is masked, and I think they're going to keep bringing in more people that are the more secret identity type, like the classic comic ones. And I think that this is kind of building us up towards that, with Fisk being like, "This, we can't do this." Especially because these aren't technically superheroes; these are all people that aren't technically powered, besides Spider-Man so far. It's kind of, it's not like Iron Man. It's not like the Hulk. It's people that are a little more like everyday guys that are then using what they can, like the Mystic Amulet or whatever, to enact justice. And then, I mean, if you're bringing in X-Men, we also have the entire storyline we can do with the Wanda, bring her back, and do the whole House of M. And that was a massive, like, there's plenty of things that I don't think they're going to have any lack of content for the next few decades, honestly. We'll be reviewing these movies when we're 60, guys.
I just hope they stay away from the Magneto incest storyline. That's all I hope.
What is the Magneto incest story?
Isn't there a story in the comic books where Magneto and
they're not
Scarlet?
related in that storyline?
Oh, they're not related in that storyline?
I'm pretty sure, but I know like there is no, Nick, you are right. There is a infamous storyline where Magneto does have a relationship with Scarlet Witch. He doesn't know she's his daughter, I'm pretty sure. And then anyway, it does.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Stay away.
We'll say that's
Let's
in one of
stay
the
away from that
universes that gets destroyed. We're fine.
That timeline's already been snipped. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
do
DC
agree.
version of Marvel.
I do definitely see that Kang could eventually come back as a credible threat because there's a lot that was left on the plate there, and obviously they'd already thought it out if they wanted to do it. So
Yeah,
I
and
could see
Midnight
that
Suns. I
continue.
mean, it feels like they could kind of build it back up.
Midnight Suns 100% is going to bring in so much of like the horror elements, vampires, all that stuff. There's so many storylines there. And I think we will eventually get storylines about like the Illuminati because now we've got most of those characters. We've got Doctor Strange, we've got Namor. I think we're going to get a new Black Panther or aged up Black Panther back with after Secret Wars. So
About Mr. Sinister.
Maybe.
That might be the first X-Men movie we get, but
Yeah, he could be the bad guy for sure because they may not want to do Magneto right off the bat. Like he may be there, like talked about, but he's overdone. Like, to be honest, we know he's always been the bad guy for almost every single one. So I could see that kind of being built up. Like maybe Magneto will be like the Thanos for the X-Men, where it'll be through several movies that he becomes more of a threat. I think it's more likely that he's going to be more of a not seen as a super threat till later on because they're going to play more on the like he's just advocating for mutant rights. You know,
if they do that right, where they just have like them going through like their day-to-day lives and just have on like the just have like on TVs or reports of like new tapes found from the Brotherhood of Mutants organization, and it's just Magneto making his speeches being like mutant brothers come join our forces, you have a family here,
and seeing like
all that kind of
flyers
stuff
on the streets some places and stuff and trying to bring
exactly
people in. Yeah,
I mean, you could tie it in with what Fisk is doing too.
Exactly.
Like, Magneto, he sees this and he's like, hey, I've been through this before. We don't need to go through this type of...
I think Magneto is one of the more interesting villains because he definitely, in a lot of moments in X-Men, have worked with the X-Men to accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, they had some problems, but I do think that the younger cast, the first class people, I think they had it right where it showed how he and Xavier are kind of on the same side. It's just they differ a lot in how it should be done.
Just that point of view, yeah.
Xavier is more for peace and finding a way to work together, and then Magneto, because of how his trauma, that he's been through, which understandable with the fucking Holocaust and everything, but that he is more of a mindset of we just need to destroy them because they're going to hurt us if we don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think, but I could also see him being the one that rallies them against the Avengers if we get an AVX movie.
100% agree. Honestly, I think if Marvel stays the course with what they're doing now, like actually putting in the time to make real good scripts, build up their villains, like what I do want to say is I hope that whatever happens throughout the rest of this story and going into the future movies, I kind of want to see Marvel work more on their villains. I know it's, a complaint we've all had for like the last decade of filmmaking for these.
Not
movies,
just these one movie kind of bad guys.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like it's a whole universe. Yeah, like let them. They can be reused. Have them captured. Bring them down. You don't have to kill them off because if you want to reuse these characters again and have people keep coming back, just let them put them in the raft. The raft is already there. You introduce it.
I'm so glad that Ross didn't get killed.
Exactly. Yeah, he's in the raft. He's serving his time. If we keep filling that up, and then like if we get a Spider-Man Sinister Six where they break out, then we can have more movies where stuff starts getting plotted again. But they have to focus.
I would love so much to have a Spider-Man Sinister Six movie. That is like my dream.
If they build it up this way, absolutely. If they can like have just everything in there, but then like here's kind of what I wish would happen again is like just have what happened in old movie making where you have like the main like story wherever like who's like escaped or like at least like the villain of the story is building up like in the background. You can kind of see like developments of other stories, like actually use the medium to tell more stories while you're telling your main story. Like show like let's say Red Hulk escapes or like if they put anybody else in the actual raft, but they're not the main focus of whatever movie's coming out next. Have like, you know, whispers of what's going on or like have somebody in the background say, did you hear about this? And it's exactly a description of one of the villains or something like that to build up future movies again, which I think is something that's very underutilized in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I will mention one more thing before we go, and I just want to hear y'all's opinion on this because this ties back to Daredevil directly. Remember the big pothole that we were talking about earlier? Some people think, and I don't know if they're just clutching at straws or what, but they think because of how large it was, and they're like, we don't know how this happened, you know, and all that it is an Easter egg potential setup for Daisy Johnson to come back as Quake in Daredevil.
See,
because
it could be cool.
Because they've been teasing for a long time that she's potentially coming back, and like, you know, she's put stuff on her like socials before that have kind of looked like it, and people, again, I don't know if it's people just wanting it or if it's potentially a real, because that could be, maybe that's the other MCU tie / hero that we see pop up.
I mean, if it is, I'm totally cool with that. I thought, you know, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., criminally underrated TV show, but
seeing in this universe, 100%. I don't think she'd be an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I mean?
Never even heard of it.
Yeah.
You've never saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I never saw it, no. But that wasn't what I said. I said I'd never heard of it.
Speaking of that, also, there's also some pretty good stuff that's come out that makes it look very likely that at the very least, Coulson is going to be back in Secret Wars.
Let's go.
Oh, by the way, real quick before you wrap it up with your final thoughts here, I asked a friend of mine because he's also a big comic friend. I asked him specifically because he's Jewish. I asked him what he thinks.
Where is this going?
What he thinks could. Well, he said like, well, going off of the X-Men. You know, we have the Holocaust. That was a very big driving force in the original comics,
and that's Magneto's background. Yeah.
Yes. But as we discussed a few weeks back on what would be the catalyst now, because it's almost
a little too far back for him.
Too far back to go
realistically be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My buddy mentioned Operation Moses, which was an operation to save Israeli Jews back in the 70s from some pretty messed up stuff. And I was like, that could work. I thought I'd throw that out there. I was looking on my phone. I don't know if you saw that. I was looking down for a little while. I was trying to find the conversation.
Yeah, I think they could definitely find something like that fits. Or I think, as we mentioned then, I wouldn't be against it if they did want to do a race swap character and have it be like civil rights or something like that happened, that maybe he was somebody that his family got like killed and he was beaten and, you know, stuff like that. Like, I think there's a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, there's a lot of atrocities they can pick from.
What, in U.S. history? No. What I was going to say too is like, even if, because yeah, he's definitely aged out to the point where nobody's going to be really afraid of a 90-year-old man that can bend metal.
I can bend
mostly because he's senile.
What are you talking about? His oxygen tank will be a snap to get around, you know, just floating along next to him.
I can bend this spoon. It makes it better for my soup. See?
I can only float 2 feet above the ground. It's too hard on my scapula.
It's too high up for me anymore. It hurts my knees when I land.
I mean, if anything, I was gonna say he could probably be even like the son of a survivor. It wouldn't build up as much trauma, but it would definitely be like a way to still kind of tie back to the original story. Even if they do what like Nick talked about with Operation Moses, or like make him the son of Ava, a survivor of the Holocaust, and then have something else happen like that, could be a good tie-in to like keep it rooted in some of the roots of the character. But yeah, I could definitely see what you said too, David, like a civil right, just race swapping it out and then having the civil rights be a major cause for what he does now.
See, I am all for race swapping a character if it's something that's actually affecting the story. Like if there's a reason to do it, I have no problem with it. I think it's just crazy to do when there's no reason behind it. But for something like this, 100%, I would be fine with it.
Absolutely. Plus, I think it would fit into the themes of X-Men even better, because that's essentially what the X-Men was found for, or at least was written about. So, I mean, if, they race swapped Magneto and just made him that representative, or just part of that, I think that'd be absolutely in line with the character itself.
See, even more upsetting that Giancarlo Esposito's already been something in the series, because he would have been a fantastic Magneto or Professor Xavier, I think.
Well, dude, after Secret Wars, they could have a major reset, so it's a possibility,
Yeah, did you hear? He came out with an article this week, too, saying that he originally was cast as King Cobra.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it was going to lead up to, but they decided that he needed to be Sidewinder instead, and they took out a lot of the Cobra Society stuff or the Serpent Society that was going to be, like, prominent in the movie. That was one of the things that was changed during the reshoots and stuff. They're like, you'll have a lot of like qualities of the King, but you're going to be Sidewinder.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Dude, it looks cool. Like he had a whole costume and everything. Like he would have been an actual like legit supervillain. And it makes me understand a little more now why he was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Well, see, now that I know that, that's just a race. That's just a waste of what.
A waste of a fantastic actor.
100%, dude. Like when we talk about the Electric State, I think he was great in that movie. I think he still got it. So it's too bad that they wasted him on.
We'll definitely talk more about that, but I agree. I think that he was the most dynamic character in the movie in terms of where he went from the beginning to the end. Yeah.
I have an idea. What if Magneto in the MCU is actually the actor who was originally cast as Darth Maul, and the big atrocity that he went through was the fact that he was cut from the movie, and that's his main thing.
Are you talking about?
No, I'm just making a jape. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the guy who played Jar Jar.
No, the original actor for Darth Maul actually did not like the final product for Star Wars Episode 1.
I think there's a lot of people that were involved in that movie that didn't like the final product. So, but on the plus side, it's kind of a masterpiece compared to the recent Star Wars movies. So, win-win.
Kind of. It is a masterpiece.
Exactly. Yeah, people look back at the prequels now and they're like, these are great. This is Star Wars.
So many people, such shitheads.
But yeah, okay. So, I think we've definitely done enough recording talking at least. So same place next week for episode 4, right?
Same place next week for episode 4. You guys know where to find us. Click the links in the description to come find us on all of our platforms.